me. Oh, I'm here, Nico.
I'm back with another video about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and the potential of our favorite web-slinging hero. I loved the first season and seeing the slow progression of Spider-Man from the original suit Peter hand-stitched himself to the final costume commissioned by Harry, which marked the next chapter of Peter's story beginning in earnest. With Harry as Peter's man behind the desk, keeping tabs on his exploits and ensuring the hero stays safe, he'll likely come up with additional upgrades to help keep Peter out of the hospital and in fighting shape. Especially with an organization of his own dedicated to assisting young minds and experimenting with their ideas, there's bound to be abundant inspiration for Harry and Peter, who can implement their colleagues' inventions into an upgraded spider suit. In today's video, I'll discuss 5 upgrades I believe should be implemented first to make Peter the best hero possible.
The aerodynamics are top-notch, but
no buts until you see it in real action.
Number 1. Increased web fluid. The first upgrade Peter should implement is finding a way to carry increased web fluid. Unlike other adaptations, this Peter doesn't make web fluid naturally, so he needs to make and have it within his costume, allowing him to swing across New York and trap enemies. Due to this, he has a limited supply, which runs out during his fight against Gargan. The limited fluid isn't enough to trap his superpowered enemy, and without it to defend himself, Peter ends up critically injured by the end of the fight. When Peter finds himself back on his feet and prepared for his next fight, he mentions that he brought enough webbing for everyone, implying that he learned from his past mistakes and discovered how to increase his fluid supply. He's likely carrying more cartridges for his suit to replace the empty ones, which works fine, but doing so must require him to flee from a fight or hide a mid-battle to switch them out. It would be more beneficial and time-efficient if Peter had fluid storage directly in his suit's arms, which would automatically replace itself once it ran out. The adaptation should be one of the easiest to make, as Spider-Man's suit is sturdy and can seemingly house countless upgrades. If the cartridge for webbing were small enough, it could line the inside of the suit, prevent enemies from seeing how much he has left, and keep the cartridges from becoming damaged in a fight. An unlimited supply would be impossible, but having enough to detain multiple enemies more efficiently would be beneficial. Likewise, if Peter could develop a stronger version of the web fluid, allowing him to use less with more power, he could become much more efficient in a fight.
Eddie, wait for it. Now!
Number 2. Artificial intelligence. Throughout the first season, Peter's suits are upgraded with technological advancements that keep him connected and informed. These upgrades include an active police scanner, a communication system, and a GPS to guide him through New York. He receives the GPS late in the season but greatly appreciates it, as he admits that navigating the large city at night can become difficult. These technological advancements keep Peter on top of things, allowing him to seek advice from his allies and keep up with his enemies when they try to flee. However, these items could be enhanced by incorporating artificial intelligence, the kind often utilized in Iron Man suits. In the MCU, Peter receives an AI assistant from Tony called Friday, who communicates with Peter and updates him on new information or things he missed during battle. While Peter hasn't crossed paths with Tony or Iron Man in the series, he surrounds himself with many geniuses who could develop a similar assistant with the same role. Most importantly, the AI assistant should help him monitor his suit's durability, personal injuries, information about his enemies, and obstacles or civilians nearby. Peter mentions his habit of putting innocent people above all else, often forcing him to disengage with an enemy and place himself in a dangerous position to save someone. If his suit could locate people within a nearby radius, Peter would know where innocents were hiding ahead of time and where to avoid fighting if possible.
I've got Oscorp's mass spectrometer working in sync with our satellite to locate Octavius by tracking the energy left behind by his weapons.
Number 3. Emergency support. Although Peter becomes a trustworthy and competent hero throughout the first season, he's still young and learning the best techniques for taking down different opponents. His inexperience hinders him, even with his strength and intellect. Unlike other notable heroes like the Avengers who have prevented world-threatening threats more than once, Peter doesn't have anyone else watching his back on the battlefield. The only people to help him stand against an enemy were Doctor Strange and Lonnie Lincoln, but each team-up was born from circumstance and from being at the right place at the right time. Peter does have people in his ear most of the time, as Norman and Henry take turns watching him from a distance and giving him advice during brutal fights. However, his allies can't always be present when criminal activity starts, as the Osborns have personal responsibilities and obligations to tend to throughout the day. Peter is left alone during these moments, which can have deadly consequences. This occurred during Peter's fight with Gargan, when Norman removed his earpiece assuming the fight was finished. Peter nearly lost his life in this fight and had to depend on Norman to save him at the last second. To prevent this from happening again, his suit should have a sensor that activates when Peter sustains a critical injury, which would transmit his location to his allies or local law enforcement.
Spider-Man! Come on!
Number 4. The Iron Spider. One of Spider-Man's most iconic upgrades is the Iron Spider suit he receives from Tony Stark in the MCU, which provides him an extra layer of protective armor to shield him from incoming attacks, and includes numerous protocols to help him when endangered. For example, this suit has an option to take him away from a fight, which could serve as an emergency escape protocol, and it also has iron leg attachments that allow Peter to move around like a spider and have additional stability similar to the extended arms used by Otto Octavius. As I've stated, Peter has yet to cross paths with Tony in the series, but that doesn't mean he can't take inspiration from the famous hero to make these adaptations himself. After experiencing a near-death encounter in his fight against Gargan and sustaining countless injuries during his time as Spider-Man, adding iron plating or armor to the outside of his outfit would be worth the time to develop and test, especially if it would become the last line of defense between Peter and a fatal blow. Number 5. Electric Shock. When Peter first agreed to work alongside Norman as Spider-Man, his new mentor jumped at the chance to develop a line of potential suits and corresponding upgrades. One of his first ideas is an electric shock attachment to Peter's suit, allowing him to immediately capture and stun troubling enemies. The upgrade isn't mentioned again, as it was likely a subtle nod to Miles Morales, another Spider-Man who already has the additional ability to stun his opponents with similar attacks. Despite Norman writing off implementing electricity into Peter's suit, it's a good idea. Not only could Peter stop a criminal from rampaging through the streets, but he could also detain multiple enemies at once and protect himself from sudden attacks. An electric current within his suit would have numerous uses and be incredibly versatile, giving him a new weapon, a potential shield, and a means of powering objects, like the generator he needed to fix in the season finale. While the series has nodded to the existence of the multiverse in the first season, I find it unlikely that the next season will introduce Miles Morales, as he's already the main character in another ongoing Spider-Man franchise. It would require splitting the narrative between two new heroes still learning to find their way. In his absence, it wouldn't hurt to let Peter utilize some of his notable abilities, such as using electric currents in combination with his webbing to create an effect similar to chain lightning. This upgrade has great potential, and it's the one I'm most excited about.
Hey.
I'm looking forward to seeing new iterations of Spider-Man in the future. Peter is someone who takes inspiration from others, and he's not afraid to make changes or adaptations to get things done. While he had trouble using some of the suits designed by Norman, he committed to testing each one out before offering to use one later, if only to have a chance against fighting his enemies. He undoubtedly learned a lot during this experimental stage and knows which upgrades will assist him best in protecting New York. With Harry's help and potential access to a robotic lab of his own, the sky's the limit regarding Spider-Man's improvements.
Stoichiometric compounds are those that maintain
The ratio in which they will form despite having defects.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated on our uploads.
Sorry, Nico. Give me 1 second. Harry, I'm in. Crap, the comms aren't set up for the suit yet.